God bless Grassroots America. Let me tell you something, it's good to be home. Men and women in this room, I love men and women in this room. Joanne, you're right. We started at the beginning of this race, the Senate race, a candidate forum. Let me tell you, fastballs, it was more like machine gun bullets. There was nothing easy. There was nothing weak. There was nothing pansy. There was, here's what we believe, and we're going to find out what you believe, and we're going to find out if you'll stand and fight and bleed, and so it comes. And I got to tell you, your fearless leader, Joanne Fleming, is nothing short of extraordinary. That's true. Because, you know, when Joanne's talking, she's not reading, she's talking. She's speaking from the heart. She'll tell you exactly what she thinks, what she believes, what she knows to be true, whether you want to hear it or not. And, you know, one of the reasons I wanted to be here tonight was just to take the opportunity for everyone here to say thank you. Say thank you for your passionate devotion to the Constitution, your passionate devotion to freedom. The words, we the people, those aren't just empty words. They mean something. This is where sovereignty resides, is the men and women in this room and the men and women of this country. And so many of the men and women in this room have spent so many hundreds and even thousands of hours fighting to change our country. When I announced my campaign for Senate, and no one on earth thought we had a friend. There were a whole lot of people in this room who crawled over broken glass to take on an army of impossibility and stun the state with an improbable and an even impossible grassroots victory. And in the presidential race, so many people in this room gave sacrificially of your time, of your energy, of your passion, of your money, of your credibility, of everything you got. And more than anything else, the sentiment that Heidi and I have, the sentiment I want you to hear tonight more than anything else, is that we are filled with overwhelming gratitude. What an incredible blessing to have traveled this journey. Each and every day of this campaign, I was inspired by you. I was inspired by a gentleman in North Carolina who sent an email to our campaign manager. He said, my wife and I are retired. We live on Social Security. He said, every month I send $40 into the campaign to try to help. Last month my wife fell and she broke her hip. We got some medical bills now. I can't send my $40 this month. I'm sorry. And just know I'm praying. You get an email like that, it gets your attention. Remember 2 little kids in California, 4 and 6 years old, that came up to me, they handed me envelopes filled with change. They had a lemonade stand the week before. They wanted to give me all the money from the lemonade stand to the campaign. Because we got to change our country. We got to bring it back. I remember one of my favorite stories from the campaign in Indiana. Heidi was stopping by one of the volunteer centers. And this woman stopped her and said, Heidi, I've got a letter I'd like you to give Ted. She said, okay. And she said, my husband's from Hungary. And I'd like for him to be ambassador to Hungary. And Heidi kind of said, okay. And this woman continued. She said, look, I know that ambassadors are typically rich guys who read the big check or raised a bunch of money. She said, we don't have any money. But she said, I've made 10,000 phone calls in this call center, and you ought to be able to become an ambassador by making 10,000 calls. And I looked at her and said, you are absolutely right. But that was every day what inspired us, what we're fighting for. The course of the campaign, we had 326,000 volunteers all across the country who knocked on doors, who made phone calls, who put everything into it. And for every one of you, for the thousands of people, Maggie, that you have hugged and you have touched their hearts. For every one of you, more than anything else, Heidi and I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. And it is a privilege to be standing and fighting alongside you.
We love you, Ted.
Now, today's been kind of unfolding. You know, some of y'all may remember a couple of months ago when I stood up in Cleveland and I told folks there, I said, every one of you, conservatives across this country, Americans across this country, in November, do not stay home. Do not stay home. Come out and vote. Vote your conscience and vote for candidates you trust up and down the ticket to defend freedom and defend the Constitution. Now, I can tell you, standing on that stage in Cleveland, I meant it then, and standing here today, I mean it now. That's the standard every one of us should apply to every single candidate, from the top of the ticket to the bottom of the ticket. We should hold every candidate accountable. Now, some of you may have seen, I announced today that after a lot of months of prayer, of reflection, that I've decided in November I intend to vote for Donald Trump. Now, I know a lot of people in this room, like I, have struggled with this election. Have struggled to know what's the right thing to do. What is the right decision? What's the honorable decision? I'll tell you, that's something. All we can do is go to the Lord in prayer, follow our conscience, and try to make the best decisions we can. And so what I want to do tonight to my friends is explain why I came to that decision. And I recognize there are people in this room who agree with that decision, or glad I came to that decision. I recognize there are other people in this room who may be less than thrilled. For me, it was really two things. Number one, a year ago, I stood on a stage in front of the American people, and I made a promise I will support the Republican nominee. That's a promise I made to the people across this country. And as I thought about it and prayed about it, what to do, what my conscience told me is I need to keep my word. And so that was a major factor, the factor that I had stood up and made that promise at the beginning. Before this journey was traveled, before some of the water under the bridge was spilled, that was a promise I made, and I've decided I'm going to honor that promise. But there's a second component. I'm not going to deny that I have had some differences with the Republican Party. But I could also tell you what I'm absolutely certain, which is that Hillary Clinton is a train wreck who would be a disaster for this country. And I try to answer the question each and every day, each and every month. What's the right decision for my kids, for your kids, and for the future of this country? And I'll tell you, there were 6 policy issues that were right at the heart of my decision. Number one, first and foremost, was the Supreme Court.
Yes. That's right.
fighting to defend the Constitution and Bill of Rights in front of the Supreme Court. And I can tell you just about every one of our fundamental rights is hanging by a thread. You take the Second Amendment. Any folks here care about the Second Amendment? I love these days. Although I'm actually impressed. Half the time you say that here, people pull out their guns and start shooting. You get in real trouble with management if you put bullet holes in your ceiling. So I appreciate the restraint that everyone shows. But the Second Amendment, the case of Heller versus District of Columbia, which I had the privilege of leading the state defending the Second Amendment, we won that case 5-4. We are one justice away from the individual right to keep and bear arms being erased from the Bill of Rights. Justice Antonin Scalia was one of those 5 votes. With his passing, the next president, likely in January of next year, will decide whether the 5th vote is to preserve and protect that Second Amendment or to try to rip it away by force from Washington. Religious liberty. Something as fundamental to all of us as anything you can think of. There is a reason why religious liberty is the first right protected in the first clause of the First Amendment of the Bill of Rights to the Constitution. Because without religious liberty, none of the rest of it matters.
That's right.
As y'all know, in Texas, I had the privilege of standing alongside Greg Abbott defending the Ten Commandments monument on the state capitol grounds. In front of the Supreme Court, we won 5-4. Scalia was one of those 5. We're one justice away from the Supreme Court ordering Ten Commandments monuments torn down all over the country. In private practice, I represented 3 million veterans defending the Mojave Desert Veterans Memorial, a Latin cross honoring the men and women who gave their lives in World War I. We went to the Supreme Court, we won 5-4. Scalia was one of those 5. We're one justice away from the Supreme Court ordering veterans memorials torn down all over this country if they had the image of a cross or any religious symbol. U.S. sovereignty. Many of y'all are familiar with the case Medellin versus Texas, where we stood up and fought the World Court of the United Nations, and the President of the United States was a Republican, and we defended the proposition that the United Nations and World Court cannot bind U.S. law, and no president can give away our sovereignty. We won that case. 6-3 on the first iteration. The second time around, it was 5-4. Scalia was one of those 5, and we're one justice away from seeing our sovereignty stripped away. It is right after right after right that is hanging by a thread. Now, we know what justice is Hillary Clinton. If Hillary Clinton is president, every justice she appoints will be a left-wing ideologue who will vote to strip away the Bill of Rights. And I can tell you a significant factor in my deciding today to support Donald Trump is today the Trump campaign put out a list of Supreme Court justices. Included at the top of the list, my friend and colleague, Senator Mike Lee, who would make it extraordinary. And then, importantly, promised that the only people who would be considered for Supreme Court nominations are the names on that list.
Wow.
Campaign has never said that. That list is a very, very strong list, and I got to tell you, for me and for every one of us who care about the Constitution and Bill of Rights, that is a big, big deal to make the promise. This is the list, and you can know the people from whom justices will be picked. That was a big factor and a powerful factor for me in making my decision. Another factor is Obamacare. Men and women in this room and across Texas know what an absolute disaster Obamacare has been. It's devastated this country. Millions of Americans have lost their health care, who've lost their doctor, who've seen their premiums skyrocket. Now, Republican leadership, my best friends. But they have committed, if we hold Republican majorities in Congress, that will pass legislation repealing Obamacare. What I can tell you is I know beyond a shadow of a doubt Hillary Clinton would veto that legislation. And Donald Trump has promised he would sign. For someone who has devoted my time in the Senate to fighting with all of my might to stop the train wreck that is Obamacare, that was another factor that mattered to me. A third factor that matters to me, and I think matters to Texans and Americans, is energy. We've seen this administration waging a war on coal, waging a war trying to strangle the oil and gas industry at a time when we desperately need economic growth.
Yes.
The dumbest thing in the world to do is to fail to develop the incredible, bountiful resources God has given this country. We're on the verge of energy independence. We're on the verge of being an energy powerhouse. If the federal government will just shut up and get out of the way. And we know beyond a shadow of a doubt if Hillary Clinton were president, she would continue the war on coal and oil and gas, and Donald Trump has promised that he would not. It's the third factor that matters. A fourth issue that matters to me and many people in this room is immigration. Look, immigration has been an issue. Lots of politicians talk about it. And we find out when they get in office, they don't always tend to do what they said. But what we do know is Hillary Clinton has promised not only to maintain, but to extend Obama's illegal executive amnesty to every single person here illegally. That's what she's telling us she's going to do. And Donald has said that he would revoke President Obama's illegal executive orders. A fifth difference is national security. You know, for 7 years we've seen the Obama administration engaging in willful blindness. Engaging in such a politically correct, blatant view of protecting this country that they refuse to confront or acknowledge or address in any meaningful way the scourge of radical Islamic terrorism.
Yes.
I chaired a hearing in the Senate. I chaired the Oversight Committee, the Senate Judiciary Committee, a hearing on the willful blindness of this administration. We heard testimony from a whistleblower of the Department of Homeland Security about how the White House led a purge, and that was there your word, purge, deleting over 800 files or modifying them in the Department of Homeland Security to delete references to jihad or Muslim Brotherhood or other terms that were deemed inconsistent with their political agenda. We all remember the horrific terror attack in Orlando. You may recall that the terrorist there who went into that nightclub, murdering and wounding people and committing mayhem, he called 911. And he pledged his allegiance to ISIS. He pledged his allegiance to al-Baghdadi on the tape. Well, the Obama Justice Department released that tape, and they literally edited out that portion. I don't think it was Richard Nixon's secretary just blanking out the tape. But they edited it out, and then Loretta Lynch had the audacity to say, "We may never know why he did it." And it is rather amazing when you literally erase the portion of the tape where he said, "This is why I'm doing this." Willful blindness is dangerous. And we have President Obama, who has pledged to bring in tens of thousands of Middle Eastern refugees, who the FBI has told us they cannot vet to make sure they're not terrorists. Hillary Clinton has pledged to continue that. She would continue the willful blindness. She would continue bringing in unvetted refugees. And Donald Trump has pledged to stop the flood of unvetted refugees. And the sixth factor that was important to me in thinking about this, the question of internet freedom. Many of y'all may have been following the fight that I've been leading in the Senate to stop the Obama administration's misguided plan to hand over control of the internet to foreign nations, including Russia and China and Iran. You know, what is it with liberals? Jimmy Carter gave away the Panama Canal, and Obama wants to give away the internet. It's crazy and it's dangerous. It undermines our security. It undermines our freedom, because these countries are not believers in the First Amendment.
That's right.
To put it mildly. And during this fight, Hillary Clinton has said she supports Obama's effort to give away control of the internet. And just this week, Trump came out and publicly, vocally, and strongly supported our effort to keep the internet free from foreign control, free from censorship, and to protect free speech on it. So those are the factors I weighed and considered. And at the end of the day, I made the decision that what my conscience tells me to do is I know Hillary would follow through on every one of those promises. I know the devastation that would happen to this country on that front. And I don't believe I could in good conscience look my kids in the eye and said, I sat by and let that happen. And the only thing standing in the way of Hillary winning at this point is Donald Trump. Now, every one of you has to make your own decision. You have to make your own decision what's the right thing to do, what's consistent with your conscience, with your morals, with the Constitution. And I can tell you this, regardless of who wins, I know for darn sure that the men and women in this room are going to hold whoever is elected accountable for their actions. And that's one thing you all take very seriously, is holding every one of us accountable. You know, Joanne was talking about a statewide elected official who said, well, that doesn't count me. I promise you that wasn't me. I promise you that, because let me tell you, it is absolutely your right and your responsibility to hold all of us accountable, including me. And that is a responsibility I take very seriously, that I work for each and every one of you. And I can tell you, anytime we see the federal government disregarding the Constitution and Bill of Rights, you've got my word, I'm going to stand up and fight to stop it. And my political priorities over the next 2 months are very simple. They are, number one, I intend to do everything I can to defeat Hillary Clinton in her race for the White House. You know, I know Hillary really wants to get back to government housing. But I have a smaller place in mind with fewer windows. The second thing that I am working hard to preserve is doing everything I can to keep a Republican majority in the United States Senate.
Right.
Constitution, if we care about the Bill of Rights, if we care about the Supreme Court, if we care about jobs, if we care about freedom, if we care about keeping this country safe, handing the majority over to Chuck Schumer and the Democrats is profoundly dangerous. And then the third thing I'm going to focus on is actually what Joanne encouraged each of you to do, which is turning out conservatives in Texas. Look, one thing that worries me, this election, there's some people who are discouraged, who are demoralized, who say, I'm going to go fishing.
Nope.
I understand that sentiment, I promise you. My dad and me out in the Gulf snapper fishing right now sounds pretty good. But it doesn't take that many good conservatives staying home. It doesn't take that many people saying, not my cup of tea. I'm not going to show up and vote. For suddenly us to see absolute disaster up and down the ballot. Not just at the top of the ticket, but at every level. All the way down to local races. You take, particularly in some of the big urban counties. Some of the big urban counties, you get 1%, 2%, 3% of people staying home, you can look at some very, very bad electoral results. I don't want that to happen. So I'm committed to doing what y'all are doing, which is encouraging everybody. If you love freedom, if you love the Constitution, if you love the Bill of Rights, show up, stand up, vote. Stand for our principles. That's what we've got to do. And I don't know what the future holds, but I do know if we speak the truth, if we defend freedom and the Constitution, and if we pour our hearts into this battle for our country, that at the end of the day, every one of us is going to be able to look our kids in the eyes and say, I did everything I could for this country. And when you've done everything you can, when you've left it on the field, at that point it's out of our hands. And I am convinced, from day one of America, God's blessings have been on our nation.
Amen.
And I believe with all my heart, God is not done with America yet.
That's right.
And so it is my honor to represent each and every one of you. It is my honor to fight for you each and every day. It's my honor to work for you. And it is my honor to be in the trenches, fighting side by side for this nation. Thank you.